I'll open the final council meeting of the year, 16th of December. So hand it to Taku first. Are you there, Taku? Would you do a karakia?
Can you hear me? Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Thank you very much. Yes, sure. E tō mātamatu I te rangi kia tapatau ingoa ka tae mai tātou me ki I runga te reo karanga. Nui hia mai te wairua kei rungi a tātou te aroha kei manaki tia mai mātou. Turu whakamaua kia tīna, haumi e hui e tāiki. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Apologies, I haven't got any, apart from Councillor Trillin for lateness. So I'll move that, seconded by Councillor Waddle. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. No public forum. Are there any conflicts of interest this morning?
I'd just like to make mention that in the coming documentation that I'll be stepping aside for more conversations to do with the NBL initiative. So I just want to make that noted, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Taku. I've got no notification of extraordinary business. So confirmation of minutes from the 30th of September. I'll move that to put on the table. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any issues for anyone on that? All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Okay, Mayor's report. I've written one, sorry. So, well, sorry, I say, but I've made it a bit longer. 2021 has felt a bit like 2022. It's just stretched over with the pandemic, which we thought was going to zoom along, but obviously not. Delta's arrived, and our associated lockdown and restrictions are in place, but we were a bit luckier than Auckland, obviously. But it seems to have overshadowed everything. So despite a comparatively brief lockdown for us in August, I'm pleased to report that the council operated at full strength throughout the year. Several important community events went ahead, including the Civic Awards, Anzac Day, Porirua Hall of Fame, Matariki celebrations, Porirua Business Awards and Love Local. As part of our long-term plan, the council agreed to historic and overdue investments to build resilience and protect the environment. This obviously was our $800 million investment into the Three Waters infrastructure over 30 years, an additional $10 million for stormwater, $6 million for climate change projects, and $600,000 for riparian planting, of which we have managed to plant 50,370 plants this year. On housing, we saw considerable progress in 2021, securing $136 million for infrastructure to support the major redevelopment in Eastern Porirua. And just this week, the government announced $6.1 million and additional 437 houses to be built at Kenaparu landings. In both cases, Ngāti Toa Rangatira are playing a critical role. And I want to take this opportunity to thank them for their vision, leadership and willingness to work so constructively with Council. Not just on housing, but across the board. This year, the creation of the Māori ward for Porirua, along with a redesign of the ward boundaries. So I trust this will serve to make our council, already one of the most diverse and representative in the country, even more so. In terms of our local economy, 2021 has been a good year. Despite pandemic-related disruptions and uncertainty, local business startups are flourishing. Unemployment remains low and suburban shopping areas are performing strongly. The CBD continues to face challenges, and this will demand our attention next year and beyond. For part of its prudent financial management saw the council retain our AA credit rating. So let me thank council-elected colleagues. Together we faced up to tougher issues like cars on beaches, getting the balance right in our long-term plan, and the creation of the Māori ward. All of you have been constructive and collegial throughout, even when we disagree. We don't have to look far to find examples of councils tearing themselves apart. And I'm grateful we have a group of people who are always putting the city's interests first and treat each other with civility and respect. So thank you. Every year, however, the tone of the public gets more and more uncivil and disrespectful, primarily on platforms like Facebook. Every one of us here faces personal abuse online, especially the women. We must not tolerate this as a new normal and push back wherever we can. This starts with calling it out when we see colleagues attacked, even if it's on an issue when we might disagree. Allow me to thank our Chief Executive, Wendy Walker, and every employee and contractor who does a great job for our city. These have been tough times, especially for frontline staff. but they always stand up to deliver what challenges come along, showing great dedication and professionalism. I know my council colleagues agree how lucky we are to have such great staff. You make us look good, so thank you again. And finally, I wish to wish everyone here, as well as their families throughout the city, a Merry Christmas, a restful holiday season, and all the very best for the year to come. So that's me. Taku, your turn.
Regardless of the impacts of COVID, it's been by and large a busy year. Moving our Runanga offices over to the Whitirau complex, a Whitirau establishment has been a big plus for us. It's reconnected us back to the harbour. It gives us an opportunity to be a lot more closer to the community. Moving offices as well to the top of the restaurant in town on the corner there where the old McDonald's was, that's thriving. We have our housing operations there, Te Ahu Moai, and also a high percentage of our staff on the top floor. So that's been a big buzz for us and a big plus in terms of space and the growing number of people choosing to work for us. Secondly, the full operations of Peru to be handed back to the iwi. And as the Mayor said yesterday, there was an announcement that's going to actually enhance and uplift some of the opportunities up there around housing. So we're really pleased about that. As far as the relationship with City Council is concerned, we're very, very, very more than happy and proud to be able to have the relationship that we do have, and that's been in place for a long time and it continues to grow. The relationship between council officers and the building of our capacity has been nothing but amicable. The beach, the decision we've made over the beach, by and large, our people are happy. That was a huge safety aspect that they're really, really happy with. I just want to leave with a little whakatauki for us all to remember. And it goes something like this. He aha te me nui, mākue ki atu he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. Everybody has mana. And it's about people, it's about people, it's about people. So thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for giving me the opportunity just to give a little insight from the iwi's position. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to committee recommendations. So I'll hand it over to Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move the following recommendations from Te Puna Kōrero of the 25th of November, which is regarding the Porirua Adventure Park, and Te Puna Kōrero of the 2nd of December this year regarding Titahi Bay Beach Community Safety Audit, and the deliberations report of the proposed transport bylaw. And on that matter, I'd also like to move an additional recommendation to amend, this is just an amendment of the commencement date to that bylaw, councillors, so that to be today as opposed to the 20th of December, which was in the minutes. It's a pretty simple thing. And the other two, interim recovery plan monitoring report and the proposed temporary road closure. So I move those recommendations with the addition of the 16th commencement.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nallo, thank you. Any questions? No? All those in favour? Sorry. Yep, yes. Whāpoi.
4.1. So this is all in part of the 4.2.1, with that, or is that a discussion? Sorry.
The 4.2, it's all in there. That's the traffic bylaw one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yep.
just a couple of questions. Can I ask?
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Well, with regards to it being passed and so forth, there's the recommendation 2A talks about Waitangi Day. With Waitangi Day in the air at the moment, is that still?
We discussed that at that previous meeting, so we have to put them in. Doesn't mean we'll use them.
No.
So if it gets cancelled, but it takes a while to get them through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And just the other thing too, I just noticed reading through the bylaw, there's a few and just a few mistakes there. Will that be corrected there? Like,
What type of mistakes?
Sorry.
Councillor Duncan's extremely hurt.
I'm just taking over. No. On Schedule C. Schedule C just need to clarify what they meant by page 49. Conclusion Street, that's got park. It says B, Conclusion Street B. It's at this intersection with Conclusion Street, but it's on Conclusion Street. Just want to know what they meant by that. That's page 49. And there's a couple others.
The CE can actually make minor changes to this document, so she can look at it.
Yeah, so, but that was all really, yeah, other than that, that was it.
I think it's because the heading says Conclusion Street, so yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
they meant Warspite.
Yeah, more spot. Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much, Fafui. Anyone else? No? Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Carried. Now we move to our reports. 11.1, changes to the reimbursement of the elected members policy. I will move that to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Ford. Any discussion on this? I know it's straightforward, but I'm just checking. Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Carried. Strategic risk report. So this has come through audit and risk. I'll move it to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Morrell. Any questions on that? No? All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Moves to 11.3, annual plan. And I'm not sure where Councillor Trillin is. He wanted to speak to this. So I'll move it to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor We happy? Any discussion? Yes. Thank you. Councillor Hayward.
Kia ora koutou matua. Thank you. Obviously, I'm probably going to have to pass the words of Councillor Trillin, who's unable to speak on this issue. However, him and I will have been of the same opinion. We will be both, well, unless he hasn't given me new instructions, we'll be voting for all recommendations except B, which is on the one on notice, if I recall correctly.
Yes. Sorry.
Recommendation 2.
2.
Sorry, apologies. Both he and I have foreshadowed that we are concerned that with regards to items that have not been on notice but have a significant impact on the city and also on our ability to pay for it, we should consider whether or not that should be incorporated in an annual plan. Both him and I have raised before on the issue of Karehana Bay and the funding for additional improvements to the stormwater system, that in making sure that the funding was made available to make the improvements to help out the communities in Plimerton, that left very little for other communities across Porirua. I made mention at that meeting that I put the challenge that we need to incorporate topping up that fund so that no one should be waiting any extra time for funding. Now, I'm aware that staff have made their point that the implications would not impact in terms of their operations until the following year. But I don't want to wait until after an election to give certainty to the other communities of Porirua in terms of that improvement. So I will support all of the motions, all of the recommendations except number 2. And kia ora.
Okay. Anybody else? Did you that at all, Wendy?
We've previously made comment that notwithstanding whatever the recommendations are in this report, the council, if it wishes to, can start work and agree to fund it either within, shortfalls in the capital program for the next year or through further borrowing. So none of what is in this report prevents that action being taken. Certainly not at the scale that Councillor Hayward is talking about.
Councillor Leggett?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I, for one, and I'm sure there are other councillors around this table, do not want to flag anything that would indicate a rates rise. because I'm absolutely, our rates are at 7.65 now for the next couple of years. Anything that would indicate a rate rise, I would be absolutely against. And I understand exactly what the CE is saying, is that any money that might be spent on flooding would have to come from somewhere else. Not a rates rise, but we would have to take that money from another program. Either stuff slips out into the future, or as in this case, we've brought it forward. We've spent our $20 million and brought expenditure forward. So I'm absolutely against, and I'm going to vote for the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'll put the recommendations separately. So I'll put recommendation 1, 3, 4 and 5. So all those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Recommendation 2, all those are for and against? Against? Yep, so, okay, and we'll record your vote against number 2, Jeff. Okay, that's carried, thank you. We move to Wellington Regional Leadership Committee update. So I'm going to move that to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Leggett. Any questions on this one? I know it's reasonably straightforward, but anyone? No? Okay. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. We move to our report submission on the economic regulation and consumer protection for the Three Waters. Move it to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Hayward. Any discussion on this one? Ewan, yes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to put this politely. No, I won't put it politely. I just think that this is a waste of time. The government, the dictatorship that they have led to move into, and with regard to this, that whatever we say or whatever opinion we might have, and there's hours and hours and hours of officers' time and everybody else's time in the community who are banging our heads against a brick wall, and I just find that why bother putting a submission in, because this government is, as I say, I just cannot believe that the cabinet papers that were talked that when this first came up, that it was going to be a fait accompli, and then we'll go out and talk to the councils. That's just. Politics. It's pure dictatorship in my view. So I'm going to vote against this because I think we're just wasting our time, and whatever. Yeah. So that's my view. We're wasting our time, and I don't believe we should be wasting any more money because this government's on a path of destruction, and I can't condone that in any way.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward?
Kia ora no kuramatua. I understand it is members around this table, we all have our opinions, and I respect the right of Councillor Morel to give his views on that and understand his rationale for his vote against. I'm not here to try and engage in some sort of rolling law here, because I don't need to show off. But I will say that there are significant issues regarding Three Waters. The way to advance that responsibly is to put a submission in. I commend the council for wanting to work with other like-minded councils about their concerns in a formal fashion. If for no better reason that it demonstrates the kind of behaviour we ask the public to do when we call them for submissions in relation to the business that we do around this table. If we're not going to replicate good behaviour in our own conduct, why do we expect anything different from the rest of the community? Kia ora.
Thank you. Councillor Leggett?
I find myself agreeing with most of Councillor Hayward, what he said. So, but regardless of that, I think that whatever happens, if Three Waters go forward, this sort of analysis of regulation and what's going to be required from regulation going forward is absolutely critical, and we need to have a say in the details of this. And I commend whoever wrote this and put it together for its detail, and I think it'll be worthwhile to add to the mix of what other feedback is coming through. So I'll be voting for it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll put the report. Thank you, Councillor Ford. All those in favour? All those against? We'll record that, Councillor Morrell, thank you. Okay, 11.16, application for reserve closure for Botham Park. So I'll move it to put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion on this one? Our officers come to the table, so have we got any discussion? Councillor Hayward?
Can I just get a clarification again in terms of, with regards to risk management of this, of the work being undertaken, that is detailed in the program of tasks, if we have further slippage in the delivery of this of these improvements, and what that means for us as a council in terms of, will they have to come back to us to reapply again for permission on as being put on notice here?
And yeah, so what we're proposing is to get an in principle approval from council around the time frame, and within that we'll have a detailed comms plan that we can then, and Te Aranga can then update the community as the works progress.
Okay.
Yeah, through the Mayor, it's a 30-month program, and if they start construction November, December next year, they're going for fast track. But what we're doing here is going through the consultation process required by the Reserves Act, and we'll see if there are submissions or not. But even so, even if there weren't submissions, they may struggle to start earlier. You get a sniff, that extra letter that came in a bit late about the methodology, whether they can pipe burst or they have to open trench, and some of the topography is quite difficult. So there could be delays, but I was in an alliance meeting yesterday with all the parties, and they're keen to get going as quickly as possible. So they seem to be agreeing amongst themselves who's going to do what pieces of work and gearing up to do it. And they're fully understanding they have to do it. Get the infrastructure in place before they get the buildings done.
Councillor, we happy?
Thank you. Just very quickly, I just want to assure, just some assurance that we are working with the Te Aranga Alliance in regards to publicly notifying the public of anything that's happening. And what are your plans for actual public engagement around that, other than a notice in the newspaper?
Through the Mayor, so I was in the Te Aranga Alliance board meeting yesterday, and consultation with the public, a big part of what they're doing. So a big program there, and you can see that they're talking about dividing Botham Park into 8 stages and having different stages, but all the way through it, it's about how do we engage, how do we talk, who are the people we should be talking to let everyone know what's going on. And even, with the closure over Christmas and the work that's happening on ESC at the moment, quite a discussion about everyone needs to know what's going on here. Can we have signs, surveillance, everything? So they're really trying their best.
Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, mine relates to the letter that we got yesterday from Te Aranga. It's just a piece of Caris land, and it's not reserved yet, but it may well be by that time, and we can do that, can we? We can go ahead and work with it even though we haven't had it vested yet?
Yes, yeah. So the land is coming to us in early 2022. So there will not have been any sort of substantive decisions made on this process by then, and we've been working with the developer, and they're comfortable with where things are tracking.
Anyone else? Councillor Leggett.
Just a small one at the end of this process. We're confident that Botham Park will be left in a better state than it is now.
If you think of that sewer,
Replanting and...
well, I'm thinking more of that sewer pipe that's actually in the creek, so we're trying to get it out of the creek, so that's certainly an improvement, isn't it?
Well, that's an obvious one, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the work that has to go on in order to
Again,
effect that.
as a council, we're after an uplift, so that's certainly a big part of the conversation with our parks team all the way through about what we're getting over and above just putting in a pipe. What's happening in the surrounding areas with plantings and the track and everything else.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. I'll put the motion. All those... Did you want something, Taku? Sorry.
Yeah, just a consideration. I see that there has been conversations with Ngāti Toa under the treaty principles, and it's just around the accidental discovery protocols that's prescribed by the iwi. Just a reminder that if that could be a huge part of the go forward on that work, be very much appreciated.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much. Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Carried. I'll move we now go into public excluded, seconded by Councillor Sayuli. All those in favour? All those against? Carried.